I'm flying high, man. I'm enjoying it. I like turning on the news and hearing Stephen A. Smith say the Commanders are my number 5 team. Pop, what's going on, man? Fired up. Fired up. Yeah, riding the wave of the number 7 team in the NFL. We'll get to that later, of course. Guys.
The Commanders wave is almost as hot as the Dom and Pops wave.
Yes, sir. Almost. It's almost like they go hand in hand. But guys, before we get into it today, we're talking Cleveland pregame, Bada Bets, and don't forget, like and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. We had a little uptick last week. We appreciate it. We're looking for it again this week. We are on to Cincinnati. We want to see those numbers continue to trend in the right direction. So thank you all that have been watching, and let's get into it, man. It's been 46 seconds. We might have already lost one of our boys here. Before 51 seconds now without football. Let's get into it. Pop. Vibe check. Browns at Commanders, 1 o'clock. Where are the vibes at? Boys are coming home after a short week that went exactly how we thought it was going to go. We thought we were going to go into Monday night in Cincinnati, blow their doors off, and Jayden Daniels was going to look like the best rookie quarterback maybe we've ever seen. We were ready for that, right? So where are the vibes? Making national news. Daniels climbing the quarterback rankings. How do we feel after all of that?
You just skip right over the Arizona game. You just talk about Cincinnati, where we really blew the doors off was in Arizona.
Of course.
But no, I mean, you got to be feeling good. I cannot think that after that Giants game, no one would have predicted where we were just 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And, I think you got to keep it rolling. That's the thing. Like, I mean, it's certainly possible. Anything's possible in sports. And they're playing like one of the better teams in football over these last 2 weeks. Can they keep that rolling? Will teams start to figure it out? I think the problem is it's not an easy puzzle to figure out. Our offense is not an easy puzzle to figure out, partially because of what Cliff is doing. And, obviously the biggest part was because of what Jayden Daniels brings to the table, both as a passer and a runner. Yeah. It's not an easy offense to counter. Jay Gruden was on the radio talking about it. It's like, what do you do as a defensive coordinator against this offense? And it's, like I said, it's not an easy puzzle to solve.
Yeah. I mean, it's bizarre how good the season has started. It's just something we're not used to as Commanders fans. And so I know there was some discourse about how do we feel about the Commanders getting so much love, and a lot of the younger fans saying, hey, I'm uncomfortable about that. That feels a little weird.
Not just the younger fans. Not just the younger fans.
Let me make the case for that. I don't particularly feel that way because I've been on here yelling about how Sam Howell was a better quarterback than, I don't know, whatever. Taylor Heineke deserved to be quarterback number 18 instead of quarterback number 24 or whatever. I think for the first time in the history of my lifetime, and the first time in this franchise since 2 owners ago, since Jack King Cook owned the team, I think you have real reason to believe what the national media is telling you. And I think the national media is right about the fact that this team is putting up historic numbers right now. There's no reason other than to be optimistic about this. And I said it on the last pod, things could not be any more different than the croissant enthusiast that was here 12 years ago as a rookie quarterback. Things could not be any more different with this guy and with the setup that he has. So I understand that we all got a little bit of PTSD from the last time things looked like they were truly turning around. But from what we know about that situation now, and from what we know about this situation, things are so different. And there's so much more. I mean, obviously, how can the headline not be Jayden Daniels? But there's so much more to be excited about than just Jayden with the direction of where this team is headed. It is really exciting stuff, and I think I'm flying high, man. I'm enjoying it. I like turning on the news and hearing Stephen A. Smith say the Commanders are my number 5 team on Steven's A list. I love turning on the news and hearing Rich Eisen put on the lone wolf cap and howl and then take a victory lap later. I mean, we said it after the Giants game. We said, hey, if they could start converting some of these scoring drives into touchdowns, we would have scored 38, 40 points. And then we went out and we scored 38 and 42 the next 2 weeks, started converting it. So it feels like things are headed in the right direction. It doesn't feel like things are headed in the right direction. And it's just a matter of, can we sustain it? And I think, like you said, Pop, I don't see how we don't. I mean, maybe we slow down a little bit, but okay, let's say we only score 28. 28 still gives you a damn good chance to win a football game, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just blows your mind how the thing that I just gives me a little bit of pause, and I'm with you. I think, this is a great spotlight to be in. And even if it's a 1 week thing, we should enjoy it. We should take it in. It feels like it's built for longer, but what gives me a little bit of pause is, 2 short weeks ago, everyone's talking about how all the holes we have in this roster and the lack of talent on this team, right? And how we've got to be patient. How it's going to take time. We squeaked by, beating one of the worst teams supposedly in the league and the Giants. And then now all of a sudden we're, in some cases top 5 power ranking. I don't know how much weight we put on Stephen A's ranking compared to some of these others that will reach off. So sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's certainly amazing what we've seen so far. I do believe in the talent. I think the O-line is much better than we expected, and I don't think that that's a mistake. And then we always thought that there was enough playmakers in there that that we could get the ball to. And yeah, there's what's crazy about it is there's still room for improvement, and I do think that the defense has a lot of room for improvement still, and I think we'll continue to see it. I think there was always more talent there, and all of a sudden you see guys like I think Luvu and Wagner were ranked in the top 10 linebackers by PFF for the week, right? Chin is starting to flash. You're even seeing some of the corners like Noah and even number 13 and BSJ, play a little better. So I think it's just a matter of, you've heard this a lot last year, but obviously it's a different regime that we were close. And like you said, if we could just get a top 20 performance out of that defense and continue in that top 5 range on offense, that's a pretty dangerous mix because, putting up points, there's kind of no substitute for that. And, also playing really disciplined football, not turning it over and not forcing a lot of turnovers, but as clean as we're playing is pretty important. So I don't know. My mind's still a little bit blown.
Sure.
I guess I'm going to say I want to see a little more. I'm really happy about where we are. I think there's potential. I will say this about the whole 2012 thing. It is a precedence of, I forget what the record was the year before 2012. I don't know if you remember, but it was like a 4 or 5 win season, I think. Or
but
maybe
they traded up for that pick.
But my point being, there's a precedence there. If you get a number 2 pick, you design an offense that really optimizes what that talented player can do.
Yeah.
There's a precedence there. It's something different than the league has seen. I think it's not comparing Daniels to Robert because I think he's a completely different player. But the fact that he's such a good passer of the football and he sees it so well, and I think there's room for improvement in his game there, but that he's also such a great weapon with his legs, I'm not sure that combination has been completely seen by league. I mean, they talked about the fact the Cardinals were only rushing 3 because they were so afraid of what Jayden could do with his legs.
Yeah.
And this was this was the cleanest game he played in terms of taking hits. Yeah. He really didn't take much. He was protected very well. And, when he ran the ball, he protected himself very well.
Yep. Yeah, that's the thing about Jayden, man, is that everybody's running around to make as many comps as they want. And I have my feelings about all of those comps. And I think most of them are pretty garbage. I mean, if you watch the games, if you watch the tape, the kid's winning from the pocket. And that's what everybody who's played professional football, all the analysts on TV are saying. Everybody who knows their salt is saying the kid's playing from the pocket. And then you've got the idiots of the world that still call him a running quarterback. He's not. I'm sorry, he's not. He's able to do that. And that gets you out of situations that a traditional pocket passer would be in trouble. But every single snap this kid takes, he is trying to throw the football. I mean, I think he had one designed run attempt last game. The rest are scrambles. And you see the numbers at the end of the day, which was for a touchdown. You see the numbers at the end of the day and you see, okay, 8 for 40 yards or whatever. And you go, oh, that's a running quarterback. But they're scrambles. They're not designed quarterback power runs. It's not like in Baltimore where Lamar, they snap the ball and Lamar makes 4 guys miss and gains 12 yards. Like, it's not that. It's not like in Chicago with Fields where they snap the ball and they run quarterback power. It's just that's not what's happening.
But the threat of it being there, because they did more of that the first couple of games, I think that's what's got defenses scratching their heads, because you can't really sit back in coverage, because if you do that, Cliff's going to see that and he'll call more quarterback runs.
Yeah.
The run game's been super effective, even without the threat of the option. I think it's just, it's like we said, it's a difficult puzzle to solve offensively. We just got to stay on that front foot. The other thing that worries me is that they've been able to stay in a bubble these last couple of weeks. Go out to Cincinnati and play as a big underdog. Go out to Arizona, you're still an underdog, right? Because of the defense, you're worried. About how poorly the defense is playing, and you're in a bubble. Now you're home. You came home. You're getting a ton of pats on the back, right? There's a lot of pats on the back. They're seeing the news. They're coming home to their wives and families and friends and saying, and they're saying, "Hey, did you see what so and so said about you?" Right? It's this is going to be another test because you're playing as the favorite now.
Yeah.
Right? You're playing as a team that's expected to make the playoffs. That bar, which has been very, very low here, and which is why, we thought guys like Sam Howell and others were good players. We overrated them because that bar was so low.
Yeah.
That bar is raised very high because we're seeing something through 4 games that's never been done before.
It's the old Cat Williams joke that a Chrysler 300 looks like a Rolls Royce Phantom until a Rolls Royce Phantom pulls up. We got ourselves a Rolls Royce Phantom. Let's get into these power rankings real quick. I want to read the blurb from NFL, but let's go around all the different sources. NFL has the Commanders power rank number 7 in the NFL. That's the highest ranking since we've started doing the podcast. I'm confident to say that. I don't think we need to research it. I think we can just go out and say
that's
the highest ranking, right?
By quite a bit, I think.
Right. Probably in the last decade. ESPN has the Commanders
in single digits before.
Yeah. ESPN has the Commanders at 10. That's also the highest ranking. Pro Football Talk, number 9. Pro Football Network, number 10. USA Today, number 9. So let's read this NFL blurb. And then,
why don't you also really rattle off the first, the ratings of just from the NFL Network, sure. Right? Yeah.
So we're not going to react to these. I'm just going to read them for you so you get a little bit of context, right? Minnesota Vikings, number 1. Kansas City Chiefs, number 2. Detroit Lions, number 3. Buffalo Bills, number 4. Houston Texans, number 5. Baltimore Ravens, number 6. And at number 7, your Washington Commanders.
Now, with the Ravens being our next game, which will be at live, who would have predicted that they would be the 6th and 7th ranked power ranked teams going into that week?
I mean, me and Pop were talking about I was like, can we pick any other game to go to? And the Ravens stutter a little bit out of the gate. We're off to the kind of start that we're off to. I think the Ravens last night reminded everybody who they are.
Yeah.
But I think
we'll be picking that Ravens-Bengals game later. Stay tuned.
Yeah, I think you're going to see both teams here at their best, hopefully, facing off in that Ravens game. So that should be pretty exciting. But let me read this Washington Commanders breakdown for you guys. Grab a drink. Let's get fired up for this. Let the record show that I broadcast my optimism for this team's chances back in August, but even in my wildest dreams, I didn't think I'd be approaching true believer status this quickly. Are the Commanders this year's 2023 Texans? Consider that Houston started last season with a 3-4 record, and the Commanders are sitting here at 3-1 with only 5 more road games left on the schedule. There are some truly winnable contests upcoming, along with an absolute hoot of a matchup, Jayden Daniels versus Lamar Jackson in Week 6. The Daniels magic appears to be real, and the NFC East isn't nearly the gauntlet some thought it would be. Who called that? What a refreshing change this year has been so far in DC, and I can't wait to see how it ends. But I'm fine going out on a limb here and saying that this team has an excellent chance to make a postseason run. Bookmark it.
So speaking of NFC East, I love that. I can just stand.
Eric Edholm, lead draft writer at NFL.
So speaking of NFC East, the same rankings got the Eagles at 13th, which is just on the bubble of a playoff berth. I'm going. Cowboys at 17th. And I'm guessing the Giants are.
Oh, your finger's going to get sore.
Got to keep scrolling here. 27th.
Wow.
So.
Anyway. You know what? If you're a Giants fan, you got to be pretty excited about that.
But the great thing about football, this is going to be profound, son. Listen up. It's all about the scoreboard. We're going to find out soon enough, right? We're going to play these games. We're going to see how we react against Cleveland. We got an incredibly difficult test against Baltimore, where I'm sure we'll be, well underdogs there. Battle of the Beltways, and we've got all these division games. Got to play the Eagles twice, the Cowboys twice, the Giants again. So we're gonna know. We're gonna know if this is real or not really soon.
So per pop, this is breaking news here. Per pop, by the end of the football season, we're gonna know whether or not this team is good or not. Guys, you can't get that anywhere else. Like, comment, subscribe. Bada Pop Podcast for absolutely groundbreaking analysis there. Well done, Pop. Well done. Stay tuned for Pop's lottery picks later. He's figured it out. But yeah, I mean, that's really what it's going to come down to, is what team can score the most points. And by the end of the year, we'll know how many games we win. But I do really think, all jokes aside, I think this team is positioned to. You might end up ranked higher than that. I mean, when you see the way week to week things are performing, week to week the defense is improving. Guys like Frankie Louvu look like they're finding their home here, look like to be real difference makers. I mean, that guy plays like his hair is on fire, right? You've guys got Jeremy Chin, an incredibly talented guy, couldn't find a home. Story about Chin. Chin never played in a position group when he was in Carolina. He did not have a position coach because they were moving him around so much from edge to linebacker to DB. We finally find a home for him here at safety. You see the exponential way he's taken off. You see the way Forbes and Noah I have stepped into their roles. You see the way Benjamin St. Juste is battling. If this defense, like we said, can move up forward and just keep up with this offense, you've got a really great looking team. So let's talk about what's in front of us this week. Let's not get too far ahead. Why don't we get into that Brown scouting report, Pop?
You didn't want to talk about the Devontae rumors real quick?
All right, Pop.
60 seconds on the clock. 60 seconds on the clock. I get 30. Dom gets 30. 30 each. All right, we're going to do a quick takes on Devontae Adams. I'll go first. 30 seconds. I don't want anything to do with it because I don't want to give up. It's a third-round pick or better. I don't want to mess with the chemistry of the team. If he was a free agent, I'd consider it because, always adding talent. He's certainly, would immediately be, our most talented, if not, right there with Terry as our most talented receiver. Adding talent's never a bad thing. But I don't want to mess with chemistry. I don't want to take away catches and playing time from other guys while giving up an asset. This offense is rolling at an historic pace. Let's keep it rolling. If we need to add anyone, let's add to that defense.
Sure. It feels it feels silly and borderline unwise to say you don't need Devontae Adams, but
I didn't say I didn't need him.
I'm not saying that's what you said. But
I said you could always use a talent like that.
You certainly are not wanting for anything offensively right now. I think Jayden spreads the ball around. I think when you've got a guy like Zacchaeus who can come off the bench with the Gatorade powder still on his fingers and go 6 for 85, I'm kind of with you, Pop. Why are you spending a second-round pick on a wide receiver that's 31 years old? And, if this was A.J. Brown, if this was Justin Jefferson, if this was somebody that could be around for another 5-6 years, different conversation. But I think Tay, at this point in his career, is 31. You've got maybe 2-3 years from him. Maybe this is something you revisit in the offseason if a deal doesn't get done to go somewhere else and he doesn't end up playing the rest of this year. Maybe this is something you can address in free agency. You go pick up a T. Higgins of sorts. I've been beating that drum for a while. That's a guy that's cool with being a number 2 wide receiver, has been a number 2 wide receiver. But I'm with you, Pop. I don't see the risk versus the reward. I think there's about 80 ways this thing could go wrong and only a few ways this thing can go right. So that's where I'm at with Tay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say this. He was a second-round pick. You give up a second-round pick or a third-round pick, you can get a really good young wide receiver with that pick. That's not 31.
100%.
The receivers are rich in talent. There's a lot of receiver depth, young receiver talent. I don't know about next year's draft, but just in general, there are a lot of very talented receivers coming out every year. And I trust Adam Peters to pick a good one.
Yeah, just remind me, Pop, did the 49ers go out and sign Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk in free agency, or did those guys both come in through the draft and were drafted by Adam Peters and company? So I feel pretty good about our ability.
30 seconds and 2 minutes. Let's roll to your scouting report, my favorite segment of the week.
So Cleveland Browns are pretty darn good, man. Cleveland Browns are pretty darn good. Their defense is great. Their offense is quarterbacked by somebody who forgot how to play the position, and let's hope he just stays that way this week. I don't even frankly know why that guy's still in the league at this point, so I'm not going to talk anymore about that. But running back Nick Chubb does look to come back this week, probably in some kind of limited capacity, I guess, depending on how practice continues to go. Jerome Ford is a real threat at running back as well. He's been playing the Nick Chubb role while Chubb's been out.
Real weakness of our defense, too.
Yeah, exactly. So these guys like to run the football. Cleveland can run the damn football. So that's definitely something you got to be a little nervous about. And at wide receiver, I mean, you've got 2 guys that can punish you in any given week. Amari Cooper, who I think has consistently been a Terry McLaurin-esque, one of the more underrated wide receivers across the NFL. I'll take our guy, but Amari's in that conversation. He's a really good wide receiver.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a guy you go after. Anyways, Jerry Jeudy, another guy that can make you pay. He's got the speed. Right, so those 2 guys you got to worry about at wide receiver there. But the guy throwing them the ball is pretty incompetent, and they don't have Flacco coming off the bench, so I'm not too worried about that. Defensively, Myles Garrett is a terror. Myles Garrett is as good as it gets on the defensive line.
He's kind of banged up. Yeah.
That plays to our
Still got 2 sacks last week, I think I heard, though.
Yeah. I don't know when the timing of him getting banged up was related to those sacks, but let's just call it what it is. If he's a little bit banged up, that plays to our advantage this week.
Sure, of course.
Because that is going to be, I mean, Trey Hendrickson's a good defensive lineman, but that's going to be as real of a test as you could possibly get on that offense. Our offensive line is going to face as good of a test as you could get there. And they're sharp in the secondary, man. They've got some good defensive back. Graves Newsome is a great cornerback. I was campaigning pretty hard for them to bring him in here, and we did not. But at the end of the day, I mean, they are 11th in yards and 17th in points allowed. We're 6th in yards and 3rd in points allowed. So it'll be a good matchup. The numbers will tell you we have a little bit of an edge there, but it should be really interesting to see how this thing goes.
Yeah, 2 sacks, 2 tackle for losses, 3 quarterback hits last week. So, yeah, I'm not sure where he got hurt either, but Myles Garrett is a problem for sure.
I mean, bottom line is unless they have to amputate his left leg, I think he's going to be pretty scary out there.
Yeah.
But let's get into it here. Let's do our 3 keys to a win. I'll read them off, and then we can react and kind of break them down a little bit after. So, number 1, continue the momentum on offense versus that tough Cleveland defense. I just broke down damn near every position on that defense. They've also got Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Drop a subscribe for that pronunciation.
Nice.
Who should be a Washington Commander. That's the guy that Ron drafted Jamin Davis over. It's behind us, but he's a stud at that linebacker position. But I'll take our guy Frankie Louvu. But got to be nervous about that there. So continue the momentum offensively. Got to score points. That's the bottom line. That's how this team wins. That's the recipe to winning right now.
Maybe, would you say toughest defense?
Sure.
Bucks,
the way Bowles schemes it up in Tampa and week 1 on the road as a rookie, I'd rather see this team.
There's an argument to be made. It's as tough a defense as we've faced.
Sure. This is a really good defense. I don't know that they're as good as they've been in years past, but this is a really good defense this year. Key number 2, let's take the ball away. We're facing the ghost of quarterbacks past at quarterback this week. Let's make him look like it. Let's take the ball away. He makes some really errant and bizarre plays. So let's take advantage of it. Number 3, stay on the front foot. Let's start fast, get stops, score early, take advantage of that home field. You gotta imagine we go down the field, score a touchdown to start the game, get a stop, go down the field, score another touchdown. Northwest might explode.
Yeah, it's what you want, right? I think it's keeping that momentum going. It's keeping the intensity up. It's not believing the hype. It's playing like an underdog, even though we're favorites. You don't want to let Cleveland start believing and be in the game. They might feel disrespected coming in, being underdogs. And it's playing from a different position. I think, we were favorites against the Giants, but that was a little bit different situation at the time. That was viewed as 2 bad football teams going up against each other. Right. Yeah. Now this is viewed as a top 10 football team, going up against a very, very solid group that was a playoff team last year, right? Cleveland was, right? I think.
Yes. Yeah.
So, that probably wants to get that win. So
definitely.
Yeah. So you want to do predictions real quick?
Yeah, let's get into these predictions. Commanders are 3.5-point favorites at home. That line flipped. They were not favored for this game until this week. So you can see the national media catching up a little bit. Pop, what do you think?
I got to go with our boys, of course.
Got to take the boys, right?
I got to go with our boys. I think if we just, I really feel like the only way we don't win this game is if we let down. And there's nothing in this team's nature or the way Dan Quinn has approached things or the way, quite frankly, Jayden Daniels has approached things and Terry McLaurin has approached things and John Allen and those guys, right, that would make you to believe that the makeup of this team is one that's going to let down for this week. So I feel like we just take care of business. We should win by a touchdown.
I'm with you. Yeah, I think more. I think this is a 10 to 20 point win. I think these Browns are not so good. And I'm allowed to get ahead of myself because I don't have to play on Sunday. So you don't have to worry about me letting you guys down. I'm not blocking, although I thought, first couple rounds of the draft this year, I thought I might have to get subbed in at left tackle. Turns out they worked that out pretty darn well. But yeah, I'm taking the Commanders here as well. You got to take them at -3.5. There's been a lot of discussion about who have they beat, but the bottom line is watching this team beat the brakes off of teams that are struggling is.
Come on, the Bengals are a really good team.
Bengals are a very good.
That's
team.
A ridiculous statement. Anybody saying that doesn't know football. I'm sorry.
The Bengals damn near beat the Chiefs the week before.
Bengals with Joe Burrow are a very good team.
Agreed. And
ask the insider if he's worried playing at Cincinnati this week.
Yeah, I would be.
Welcome a comment.
Please.
Yeah.
Anyways, you can only play the teams that are in front of you, and I think we got this team in front of us. So, speaking of competition, speaking of playing the teams that are in front of you, Pop, let's get into the Bada Bets. What a
Hot
week for the
the
young
boy.
man, huh?
Hot week.
5-1.
If you were tailing Dominic this week, you're a happy listener.
I made some Scott Olin. Frankly, if you've been tailing Dominic this year, I'm 12 for 8 on the year. You love that.
You were 500 before this week, so. But yeah,
you're happy to be 500 when you're back.
Yeah,
Pop's 3-3. So he's
speaking of 500.
Yeah, exactly. 500 on the nose for the year. Still good.
Hey, my fantasy team and my Bada Bets, we're going to surge. We're going to surge. We're finding our rhythm. We're opposite of the Commanders. Out of the gate slow, but we'll see. We're going to surge.
My fantasy team's just hanging 150-point weeks, flying below the radar. Just keeping it nice and low key. It's all good. Let's get into it, man. Thursday Night Football. Bucks 1.5-point favorites on the road in Atlanta. What do you like here, Pop?
I like the Bucks. Atlanta, definitely shows some potential, but Bucks are just a better team. What they did to, the Eagles last week, what they did to us. Quite frankly, I'm going Bucks.
Sure, I will take the Bucks as well here. I don't mind taking the Falcons getting points, but I like the Bucks.
It's only a 1.5, right?
Yeah, I think if the Falcons were getting like 3.5, maybe, but 1.5, yeah, go Bucks. Sunday in London, kick hots with these. Please stop the London games.
6:30 a.m. for the boy.
I'll wake up and find out how that game went. Just no chance. 9:30 in the morning for the East Coasters. Jets at I guess Vikings are technically the home team.
Right.
But, how screwed do you get when you get a London game and that's one of your home games? That sucks.
Yeah, I guess the thing is with 17 games, you're going to either play one extra at home or one extra away. So I'm guessing they still get 8 games at home. So it's not as bad as it has been in the past, the 16-game schedule.
Still lame, and I guess we'll see how it impacts the 18-game schedule coming down the pike here. But I will take the Vikings here -2.5. I don't think the Jets are all that.
Yeah, Vikings are playing better ball. Number 1 power ranked team. They're on a roll. They got a little scare last week.
Yeah,
it should be a teachable moment. I agree. I'm going Vikings.
Your NFL MVP Sam Darnold taking it across the pond.
No chance.
Ravens -2.5 at the Bengals.
Now this team might have the back-to-back MVP if they keep rolling like this. But
I'm taking the Bengals I'm taking the Bengals 2.5-point favorites. Pop's just setting me up there. He doesn't believe that either.
I do believe it. Why should I believe it? 2.5. You don't think Lamar can win it again?
I don't think Lamar's MVP again this year. No. 2.5-point favorites on the at home. I'm taking the Cincinnati Bengals. Division game, getting points at home. Pop will make this about a Ravens thing. This is a system pick, man.
Ravens. I'm going to tell you why. I got 2 reasons for picking the Ravens. I want the Ravens to win because I don't want them coming off a loss and being really desperate playing us. I'd much rather have them coming off a win. Plus, I just think they're the better football team, and they're rolling now. Their last 2 football games, they faded a little bit against the Cowboys, took their foot off the gas, but that team is rolling now.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're picking against them, but bless you, son. Give me a chance to make up some ground.
That's fine. I'm taking the Bengals. I got Bills -1 at Texans.
This is a tough one.
This is a tough one. I'll take the Bills. I think the Bills rally here. I think the Bills just had an off night in Baltimore. I think the Ravens are the better team. I don't think they're that much better than the Bills.
Yeah, 2-3-1 game teams. This is a big game. Sure. A lot of great 1:00 games. If you think of us, Ravens, Bengals, Bills, Texans. Wow,
quad box.
Yeah, it's a red zone kind of day. But I'll be 100% focused on our boys, of course. Sure. I go Bills as well. I'm going to quote you from last week. I'm going to go Bills, but I'm not exactly loving that pick. But I'll go Bills.
For the record,
disrespecting the Texans a little bit.
For the record, and I don't want to take the time to go back and check. I thought the Bills were playing at home last week. I don't know if that was backwards on the outline or what happened. That's why I took the Bills. When I saw it was Ravens, when I clicked on M&T Bank Stadium, I was like, you can check the tape. I said, Ravens are going to go into Buffalo and beat them. I would have taken the Ravens if I knew they were at home.
Bills at Ravens -2.5 is what it said clearly on the outline.
Read it wrong. Happens. I'm willing to take accountability for it. It happens. You can see the tape. I thought they were at home. I got the whatever. We already talked about it. Cowboys at Steelers. Steelers are 2.5-point favorites here on Sunday Night Football. I got a feeling Pop's going to pick with his heart and take the Steelers here.
Well, I don't think that's just a heart pick. I mean, the way the Cowboys are playing, Steelers at home, the way the Steelers have been playing, it's less than a field goal. I'm going Steelers all day, baby.
Do the Cowboys suck?
It's still a talented football team, but they've taken a step back. I mean, they lost key players on the defense. They lost coaches on the defense. They lost
key coaches.
They lost Tyler, Badass, who's our center now.
Yeah.
It's you look at that team, where did they upgrade from last year?
They didn't.
Still a super talented team. I still think it's a playoff caliber team if they start hitting on all cylinders. But it's a tough spot on the road. And it's a team in turmoil.
You talk me into
the Cowboys? Are you picking the Cowboys?
You talk me into it. Let me get the Steelers. I think this is going to be a boring, unwatchable Mike Tomlin Steelers victory right here. This is going to be like a 15-8 Steelers win.
I know they're coming off a loss, but vibes are good around the Steelers, and they battled back in that game. And,
Fields is balling.
Fields is playing well. They're really it's kind of like they're rallying behind him. That's the words I was searching for. And that's a good situation. And I like Justin Fields. I think he's still growing.
Yeah.
And he's got, but I think he's in the perfect situation now. And he's got support.
Man, Russell Wilson, if you need tips on how to get a podcast set up, my consulting rates are reasonable, bro. I got the Steelers there as well. All right, Monday Night Football, Saints at Chiefs. What have the Saints done these last couple weeks? I know they were like the hottest team in football when they beat the doors off of Carolina. And are they 2-2 now? Or are they 3-1?
Yeah, 2-2.
Yeah, so they've come back down to earth after the 91-point outburst in the first couple weeks.
Lost a close one to the Falcons last week.
Yeah.
On a 58-yard field goal.
Tough division game as well. It's a lot of points for the Chiefs team that hasn't been performing up to expectation, but are still 4-0. This is what the Chiefs do. They just kind of like barely try, and then they win 15 games in the regular season, and then they win the Super Bowl. I'll take the Chiefs here.
Yeah, me as well. I bring up a good point. It could end up being, the Chiefs have been winning a lot of close ones, right? But I think the Saints are becoming more like who we thought they were.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the year. And losing kind of close games to the Falcons sounds about what we thought the Saints were. So
sure.
Maybe they'll get a little closer to what they were those first 2 weeks. They certainly could keep it within 5, but Chiefs at home, maybe be hearing a little bit of the noise about how they're not playing as well. Pat is hearing a little bit of the noise about he's not playing that well. And I think he's susceptible to forcing it a bit. If the guy's got one kryptonite, it's trying to put the team on his back and forcing things that aren't there. But I think he'll hear that noise, and I think he'll respond to it and play really well.
Yeah, we'll see. That Bucs-Falcons game is a pretty big game because Bucs are 3-1, Falcons are 2-2. Division game, opportunity to knock a guy back down.
We're going to start at the top of the list and work our way down.
I'm fired up.
We're 40 minutes in here, son.
I'm fired up for Thursday night. It's all I'm saying. I'm fired up to watch the football tonight. You guys are seeing this on Thursday. God forbid the boy loves football, man. God forbid. Let's wrap this thing up. Pop's got to go to bed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. It's my bedtime.
Guys, if you've been with us this far, You're one of the true sickos. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for hanging around.
And we love you.
We love you. Let's wrap this thing up without further ado. I don't know if I love you. I don't know you.
I love them. If they stuck around 41 minutes, I love them. Sight unseen.
Let's wrap this thing up, man. The internet's a wild place. That's all I'm saying. Let's wrap this thing up. Without further ado, I'm Adam.
This is Pop.
Thanks for another great week, and hail to the Commanders.